is the second film in the Star Wars anthology series following Rogue One, and Solo follows a young Han Solo, played by Alden Ehrenreich, and he goes on some adventures with Woody Harrelson, Emilia Clarke, and Chewie. And we see some of what we know to be iconic moments. We actually see those on screen, and we get a pretty action-packed adventure. That's all I'm really going to say about Han Solo. The movie itself, we all know what has happened behind the scenes, so I'm not really going to go into that in too much detail, other than Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were the original directors on the film. They had a very unique and different vision than what Lucasfilm had envisioned for the film, so they were fired, and Ron Howard stepped in as the director and filmed about 80% of the movie, and did reshoots as well, so he gets all of the directing credit for this movie. So this is basically Ron Howard's movie. Solo, a Star Wars story, it's serviceable. I'm not going to write home about it. It's a fine, action-packed adventure. My biggest issue with this movie is I feel like it's just a quick attempt at a cash grab. I feel like Disney just knew. They were like, if we just make a Han Solo movie, it's going to make a shit-tillion dollars, and that's all we need. No, I mean, you put one of your most iconic characters on screen, you have to make sure that this is more than just a cash grab. Like, this is them trying to make money and generate a quick buck so that they can then make new action figures for these characters. That's kind of what this movie felt like. Felt like a corporate studio movie. Also, Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. Let's talk about him for a minute, because with the behind-the-scenes stuff, to go along with that, Lucasfilm wasn't too pleased with his performance on test screenings. He's fine. He doesn't really strike me as a Han Solo, though. I mean, maybe it's just because we're all so used to Harrison Ford at this point. But, like, looking at him, I'm like, that's not Han Solo. His performance, there's some lines of dialogue where I'm like, he delivered that exactly like Harrison Ford. And I thought that he did a really good job in that. There's scenes where he just acts like himself, and then there's scenes where he gets some really bad delivery. And I'm like, they rolled with that take? Like, I would have done that over. So he was alright, and he did alright with the material he was given. The whole first act of this movie is just action. Like, we don't really get a plot to this movie until about halfway in. And it's just action scene after action scene after action scene. The movie doesn't really have that much time to breathe. And not to mention, every action scene in this movie feels like it's like a half hour. Which I don't usually complain, but I'm like, these are some pretty extended action sequences. Like, they were taking up a long portion of the movie, and this movie feels a lot longer than 2 hours and 15 minutes because of that. And I think it's some of the pacing in the beginning and some of the pacing at the end that really hinders this movie. The big one, after the whole corporate studio thing, this movie really lacks a main antagonist. Like, who is the main villain here? Is it Dryden, who's played by Paul Bettany? Is it these pirate people? Like, who is it? I don't even know. And then the end of the movie, the third act, the entire third act is what the entirety of Pirates of the Caribbean 3 is, where everybody's just backstabbing each other. I'm like, this is just coming across as pretentious at this point. There's really no merit here. I don't understand what the stakes are here. If there's no main villain or no real antagonist, like, where are the stakes? What is the point? So who is the main villain? Emilia Clarke, I didn't really like in this movie. She was too distracting. It was every time she was on screen, I was just like, when's Game of Thrones coming back? Woody Harrelson was really good. I really liked Woody Harrelson. Paul Bettany's great for the 3 scenes he's in the movie. And I feel like the movie tried way too hard to make him the main villain. See, Lawrence Kasdan wrote this script with his son. Lawrence Kasdan has written really great scripts in the past. He most recently worked on The Force Awakens with J.J. Abrams. I think he either wrote Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. I forget which one. And he also wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, like, this guy has it in him. It's just, there's some things in this movie where I'm just like, I don't think they really handled this all that well, and this writing isn't that great. It feels, the movie, because of the change in directors, feels rushed. And I had said this from the get-go. Ever since The Last Jedi came out, they should have pushed this movie back to December. December is a Star Wars thing now, in my opinion. And plus, too, with all the reshoots that Ron Howard had to do, it would have given them more time for production, more time to maybe revise the script a little bit. But I feel like it's rushed. That's kind of what this feels like. That's not to go without saying there aren't thrilling sequences in this movie. Every action scene is really well helmed. It's visually stunning, this movie. It reminded the beginning on the planet Corellia, I think, really reminded me of something out of Blade Runner. I don't think that was, like, intentional or on purpose, and I don't even think that's a bad thing. I think that's how Blade Runner has inspired Star Wars, just as Star Wars inspired Blade Runner back in the day. The editing's great. The camera work is great. The action scenes are really, really fun. There's one on a train in the middle of this movie. Really fun. There's one, I'm not going to say what it is, towards the end that was really fun. Donald Glover as young Lando Calrissian. He nailed it. He nailed it. And the best part was he wasn't doing a Billy D. Williams impersonation, but he nailed it. It was really interesting to see how that relationship between Han and Lando first started. And the scene where Han meets Chewie for the first time, done really well. Their relationship worked really well. Everything with them worked really well. It's just some little stuff like Han and Beckett, played by Woody Harrelson. That's a great duo right there. There's just some underdeveloped characters. There's some characters in the beginning where I feel like you're not necessary, they're underdeveloped, and it's just, I don't know, like, Paul Bettany, his character, there's nothing there, really. It's just, I'm a big crime syndicate boss and bring me this. Okay? Whatever, man. But I will not lie when I say I was entertained by this movie. Like, it's not I won't say it's a good movie. I will say it's a meh movie, but it is fun. I had fun watching it, and I'm glad I watched it. I do wish that it was pushed back. I think it's rushed. I think it's just a big cash grab. But at the same time, there's no denying the way that Ron Howard assembled this film resembles a film. His directing is spot on. The visuals, set designs, editing, action sequences, all really fun. Those action set pieces are just really some of the best I have seen in a Star Wars movie, even though they're all like 20 minutes, it feels like. But I can live with that, and I'm perfectly fine with accepting this as a Star Wars movie. Do I necessarily love it? No, I don't hate it. No, I think it's serviceable, you know? I hate The Phantom Menace and I hate Attack of the Clones, but I can accept those as Star Wars movies, you know? So I think we gotta get to the point where everybody has to start accepting Star Wars movies as Star Wars movies. Like, we can't say The Last Jedi is non-canon anymore. There was one thing in the final act of the movie that caught me off guard, and I was just like, oh, that's happening. They're kind of setting up a sequel, but at the same time, they're kind of not. I don't think we need sequels to these anthology films, so please don't do that. But that scene, I was just like, who is this character? And then he takes off his hood, and I'm like, oh, it's you. Well, shit. All honesty, I think, I think that this movie is fine. It's serviceable. It's a perfectly entertaining popcorn flick. Yes, it should have been pushed back. Yes, it's a big corporate cash grab, but I enjoyed watching it. I'm going to give Solo, a Star Wars story, a C+. Guys, thank you for watching my review of Solo, a Star Wars story. Hope to see you around YouTube and the other social medias, which I will leave my links for those in the description below. I will leave some videos at the end for you to check out that I have recently done, and I will leave an icon for you to subscribe. So I hope you like, comment, and subscribe at the end of this video. My name is Alex Madden, a certified G and a bona fide stud. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.